In WoW, there are tons of items that are really rare to get a hold of, some being mounts, others being pets, but some are transmog. So today we'll be going over mega rare items that can sell for close to, if not gold cap. Let us begin. Starting off with number 1, we have the Scarlet boot. These can actually be farmed in the Scarlet Monastery within Tearsful Glades. These have a chance of dropping from the Scarlet Zealots and Judicators, and as such you'll be wanting to farm this dungeon for the chance of obtaining this item. Though this does sell for a high gold value, the reason behind this is that they have a drop chance of this item according to Wowhead is anywhere from 4 in 195,683 or 10 out of 225,799 from these mobs respectively. Needless to say, you'll be farming a very long time for this item to drop, but if it happens, you will win big. As for number 2 on this list, we have the plans for the Star Belt, a super rare recipe which can go for a stupid amount of gold. Of course, this is dependent on your server, so take this into account. The best location in order to get this item is the Dungeon Alderman. This has the most amount of mobs that have a chance of dropping this item, but like with the Scarlet boot, you are looking at anywhere from 2 in 103,671 all the way to 8 in 292,528. All hope is not lost though, as you are able to obtain this recipe from chests around the same level, such as chests in Razorfang Crawl and Downs as an example. Needless to say that this is an item that hunting for is super hard to get a hold of, and as such demands quite the price for it off of the auction house. Following on to super rare recipes, let's take a look at a well-known one. This is the plans for the Felsteel Longblade. This recipe is notorious to obtain and as such demands a big payday for any player lucky enough to obtain. This recipe can be obtained from any Burning Crusade mob in the open world and also Burning Crusade dungeons and raids. While doing research for this video, my findings came to the conclusion that the Sunwell Trash Farm is your best chance of obtaining this recipe, followed closely by the Karazhan raid. This is truly one item that is highly sought after and can provide a massive payday to anyone lucky enough to get a hold of. Next up at number 4, we have the wonderful transmog item. This is known as the Stratholme Militia Shoulder Guards. This item can be farmed from the dungeon of Stratholme. This is the service entrance, not the main entrance, just to be clear. These can drop from any of the mobs from within the dungeon, and as such we have a drop chance of around 0.01%, slim to say the least, but the price for this item is definitely reflective of this and is truly a pretty good mog. Following on to rare transmog, how about we take a look at one item which is not really talked about but fetches a high price. This is the Rage Hammer, a rare item that is only obtainable through the dungeon Sunken Temple or the Temple of Otol Hakar, though you would be hard pressed to obtain this item as it comes in at a drop chance of 0.01 to 0.4% for dropping, though it is worth noting that this item drops from any of the mobs in this dungeon, so if you are leveling your skinning from 1 to 300 for vanilla, it is worth doing this dungeon to give yourself a chance of a big payday. There is a little bit of a trend when it comes to this video, and that is transmog. Well, I best not disappoint. Coming in at number 6, we have the Icy Tomb Spoilers. This item is only obtained from the vanilla dungeon of Scholarmance. This, however, does not drop from just any mob, only 3 to be precise. These are the Crustanovian Carver, Risen Guards, and Scholarmance Acolytes from this dungeon. There is no confirmed drop chance for this item, but the count goes from 1 in 71,800 all the way to 1 in 261,860. This item is able to be sold for a higher price than the other 2 transmogs we had just covered, and because the drop chance is undefined, hence why it is rated at number 6 on this list. Now this part of the video is going to get a little more interesting at number 7 with some mega rare recipes. Brought to us from the Cataclysm expansion, these two, and I mean two, recipes are hard to obtain, that as you may as well be farming for the time lost proto drake instead. These are the rhinestone sunglasses and the high society top hat. These recipes are noted as a world drop from Cataclysm zones. However, these have only really been reported to have dropped from the Cataclysm world bosses. These are Gar in Mount 𝐻𝐻𝐽, Poseidus and Mobius in the Abyssal Depths, Zerona in Deepholm, ha, good luck, Akamahat in Uldum, and Julak Doom in the Twilight Highlands. These world bosses have been changed in Legion from incredibly long respawn timers to around 4 to 12 hours, though this may be better than the dreaded 72 hours for Poseidus. This is far better than it was. However, you will be farming these world bosses for a long time due to you having to have dual crafting and tailoring for these recipes to even have a chance of dropping, along with waiting for the world bosses to spawn. After all of that, we need a bit of a breather. Maybe something a little bit more easier. So for number 8, we have the Hotshot pilot gloves. Obtained from the trash mobs within the vanilla dungeon of Gnomrigan, this item has no confirmed drop chance, but this is an item that I know drops, as I have obtained this back in Legion. Needless to say, I made a big payday with selling this item, but the amount I farmed of this dungeon for it to even drop was insane. So knowing from experience, if you do decide to go on to farming for this item, be prepared that you'll be doing this for an incredibly long time. Next up at number 9 is an item that can only be obtained through battered junk boxes. Wait, what? You heard me correct. This is the mega rare item Black Venom Blade, and the reason for this video, this item can only be obtained through the battered junk boxes, that the boxes can only be obtained through pickpocketing low level mobs. The most notable farming method is the stockades, as this can be done quite easily for Alliance players, but if you are Horde, then may I recommend the Duskwood Crypt. This is because a lot of ghouls are around the right level, can be pickpocketed for the battered junk boxes, and as such is a great place to farm these up. The Black Venom Blade can be sold for close to, if not gold cap, and this is one of the rarest items going that can even be still farmed today, and hence why I made this video. Now last and finally, for the rarest, most mega rare item in my opinion, is the fabled Miner's Hat of the Deep. Farmable in the dungeon Alderman. No known reports of this item from after Cataclysm expansion has had this item to drop. This is because the dungeon was revamped and the mobs that could drop the item had their levels changed. However, there is one place within that dungeon that does not have a level assigned to it that can contain the Miner's Hat of the Deep. This is the chest at the end of the dungeon. Now it is worth noting that the item itself is still on the loot table, but with the changes in Cata, this chest is your best chance of obtaining this item. If you are insane or even crazy enough to go farming for this, then you might as well farm for everything else on this list first, as it is that hard to get a hold of. This item can be sold for so much gold. People are willing to transfer servers just to obtain this unique mog. And that concludes this video of the 10 mega rare gold cap items in WoW. Other than that, guys, have a wonderful rest of the day, and I shall see you in the next video, which will be soon.